Hey everyone, stick around if you want to see how I built this display board.
I played this clip in the previous video, but I'll make sure to have it a little faster this time around. And it's just to showcase that all the wood from this project as well comes from our original source, which was a canopy bed frame. So as I showed in the previous video, if you want to go check that out, we built a hangboard setup from some of the wood, and the rest of the wood we're continuing here. Now with the wood fully transported up to the living room, it was time to start cutting. And of course, like I said in the previous video, if you can avoid doing this in your living room and get sawdust all over your roommate's stuff and in the carpet and everywhere that you could possibly imagine, then definitely do so. But I was way too excited to get going on this project, and I didn't have the foresight to do it outside of the living room. So this is just part of the process of learning what's worth doing and what's worth not doing. So yeah, with that you can take the side posts of the canopy bed frame and line up the slabs of wood from the bed backing and bed front. And from those I took another piece of wood as a guide where I set a rough line of what I wanted to cut and then took the circular saw. I didn't need for this to be a perfectly straight line. Again, this is a decorative piece and not a very functional piece. Pieces all cut now, I could lay it out on the floor and check in with my roommate what he thinks. I finally got the green light, but there was one issue. The living room was a mess, so now I'm just cleaning it up and it's very satisfying. Before moving to drilling and assembly, I needed to sand the edges, rather the corners of the pieces, and then glue any tear out that was happening on the extremities of the pieces of wood. And there was one thing left to do at this point, and it was to measure out where my pilot holes were going to be, which proved to be a little bit tricky because you have to consider the thickness of your pieces, and this is why you see that I have them clamped together, is to get the total thickness. And then once you have that, I needed to make sure that I created 7 even spaces along the pieces of wood, and those would be delimited by our 6 pieces. There is one more thing to consider at this stage, and it's the fact that I didn't want the front-facing pieces to show any screw holes, because that would just take away from the aesthetic, and that's a question that I want someone looking at the piece to think of, and it's how is this assembled, and how is this thing held together. So what I ended up doing is with the front-facing pieces, I did a halfway pilot hole, and then with the back pieces, I did a through hole, and that allowed the screws to go all the way through the back pieces and align well with the front ones, and the screws are pointing towards the viewer when the display is up on the wall, and so all the screws are hidden. One good trick to use here is for the halfway depth holes, if you want to make sure you don't go all the way through, is gauge that depth on your drill bit and put a piece of tape on it, so like that you know whenever you're at the piece of tape, you're at exactly the depth you want. There's one other thing that I kept in mind during this assembly, or I guess pre-assembly stage, and it's that I only wanted to show the stained faces of the wood. I didn't want to show any of the faces that were cut and that are exposing that light birch. We're so close. Now I flip every piece upside down as if I was assembling it backwards, but this is all to make sure that I can screw in from the back and that you won't see all these screws. So they are screwing in through those back pieces, you know, the through holes, and they are biting into the halfway depth pilot holes that we put on the smaller slats. And again, this is all with the goal of hiding those screws at the end. And so each screw is going to correspond to an intersection of the wood, and it'll hold all together and align itself really nicely. Now at this point, it's a matter of seeing how does this thing even look on the wall. So my roommate's helping me here to kind of visualize where we want it, and then we take it down and gives me an opportunity to set my measurements and where I want those drywall anchors to be. So here I took my time to really make sure the widths on either side were even, and then I was trying to find the right height that just seemed like an organic place for it to fit. So the steps here are very simple. It's bring up the piece to the wall at your desired height, and then put a trace line. Once you have that, you can deduce where those mounting holes are going to be. So you can put a couple small pilot holes where those are going to be, and from there you can expand the hole to the right diameter and put your drywall anchors. Once I had that, I mounted the piece back on the wall with my roommate still supporting it, and that allowed me to align the bottom two holes perfectly with the wall. What I did there is I just continued the drill bit through the piece of wood into the drywall. Then I disassembled those top screws, or rather I unscrewed them. Then I removed the top screws, put the piece down, and that allowed me to put the right diameter in those bottom anchor points that is suitable for the drywall anchors. And then at that point, you get your roommate once more to help prop up the piece to do the final screwing in of the mounting screws. And then the piece is up. It's done.
So there it is. That's my process for building this display board. I'm sure there are many other efficient ways, but I was really happy to make this with the same wood as the first project, and there are more to come as well. So let me know if you've got any tips or tricks for the technique, and if you have any comments about the video editing. Thanks so much for your time.